Hola amigos y amigas, bienvenidos nuevamente a este espacio. Estamos acompañados por un nuevo luchador que accedió el llamado y en esta oportunidad se trata de AKIRA, luchador americano que actualmente se encuentra de gira por Japón. Él es parte de Big Japan, BJW. Welcome Akira, it's nice to have you here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Coffee shop.
Awesome. We want to do some questions to you. You've been one of the big names from the American indie scene that has go over Japan, and you are making a name for yourself over there. You are even champion now. We will go further to that topic later, but we want to start literally with the beginning. So, are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready. Let's go on.
Okay. Why did you decide to become a pro wrestler?
So I became a pro wrestler because I grew up. It's a telltale old story. It's almost ad nauseum. You hear it in every interview. I grew up watching pro wrestling, but I grew up in Indiana, and my dad would have on like old MTV, so I'd be watching South Park, Beavis and Butthead, and WWF, ECW, WCW. Those were the things in circulation in my life. So all of my likes and interests came from that. My uncle was the real geek, rest in peace, my uncle, passed in November. But he had like all the old like VHS tapes where he would stick it in, record it, and record a whole show. And then he'd write the show name on the little piece of sticker on the VHS. That's for people my age and older. All the young kids don't understand. He had like all Japan, New Japan. There was like maybe one or two FMW things, but I don't really remember those too much. And that's where kind of like my interest in wrestling came from. I grew up loving like Bret Hart, The Rock, ECW. I remember Raven, Tommy Dreamer, Taz, all those guys just stuck in my head. But then you get older and you kind of get into the teenage years, so you're more focused on other things and the things you like as a kid, teenage angst, girls, music, all, like I hate the world, that kind of stuff. That was very much me. I was a My Chemical Romance metalhead kid, and I kind of stopped caring about wrestling. It was also during the Reign of Terror, so like, I didn't want to watch Triple H match. I was like, I don't care about this fucking guy. I'm gonna go do other things with my life, and I stepped away from this. But then I went to college, and I became friends with a guy who invited me to a Rumble show. It was just not a show, like a watch along thing. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I got nothing else to do. I want to make friends. Why not? And so that's how I got back into wrestling. It was the Royal Rumble where Roman Reigns won, and he was the guy I picked to win. I didn't know anything about wrestling, but I was very happy that my dark horse won. And I think my dark horse is doing pretty well for himself nowadays, too.
That's awesome. Everyone starts in a different way, and that one is actually a peculiar one. I haven't heard of a story like that. So thank you for sharing your experience. You mentioned some interesting names, arguably some of the best performers of all times. People like Bret Hart, from a maybe a pure technique standpoint. People like The Rock from a more character dramatic aspect. Do you have specific influences or references for your style?
Obviously, as I get into professional wrestling here and here, the influences grow and change and vary. Even from when I was a kid, I still have aspects of Bret Hart. I have aspects of The Rock. I worked with Raven, and now, especially, I have more influences from Raven in my style. And there's little character things I can see or you can't see. But if you want to go a little bit further, I think my growth that grew, especially now, David Shimar, Aging. Sensei Nakamura was always the guy that got me back into really loving the sport of wrestling, and he's very affluent. What I do. Jun Kasai, Sasha Takeda, they're very what's prevalent. And especially, Daichi Hashimoto said, he said it best. He said, I feel like if Keiji Muto and Minoru Suzuki became a deathmatch wrestler, and I was like, you know what? That's not a bad compliment. I'll take that. Those are the guys I think that especially are affluent. I think I'm more affluent in their style. These little bit of pieces. Shibata-san to Shibata Gattiori. God bless him. had the match that I consider my favorite match of all time. I think it's the best match ever. Shibata Okada, Cyber Genesis match that I go, that's the kind of wrestling I want.
And now going further to the Akira of the present, you are known as a death match wrestler. So why did you decide to specialize yourself in hardcore matches, in death matches? This is a different and a special kind of doing pro wrestling.
So yes, I am a deathmatch wrestler, but it's almost like I would say to reference music. It's like I'm a thrash metal guitarist. I'm a metal guitarist. I just play thrash sometimes. So part of me is a deathmatch wrestler, but especially the last 2 years, I've had maybe put me before the stiff Big Japan. I had maybe less than 30 death matches in the last 2 years. I was doing a lot more regular matches, but it's a lot like Bailey, and wrestling, and blood sport. So being a death match wrestler is just part of me. It is not my higher, but I will always say that I am still a death match wrestler. I agree with that. But it wasn't something like I loved death matches as a kid or anything. I didn't grow up going, oh man, I love death match. I like RVD. I like Sabu and regular matches. That was my thing. I liked that. The stuff with Raven, even when he was doing stuff like tragic games, it wasn't my favorite thing. But I saw Raven himself. But it only happened because I got invited to go down to Mexico in Monterrey, and I wrestled for a promotion called MGX, the Nueva Generación Extrema, and that's where I had my first death match. Just because I went down there and I was a kid, and they asked me, "Hey, just saw it on the show. Do you want to be on it?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm in Mexico, first time in my life. Why would I not want to do that?" He said, "It's a death match." I said, "Do we have beef?" Yeah. Do we have tequila? Yeah. All right, let's do that match. And I went out there and I did it, and I stole all the hearts of everyone. It was one of them, Sick Boy, who wrestles for AAA here and there. Afterwards he said, "Oh, you're trying to steal my job, kid?" He was like, "Yeah, everyone loving you." And I still get messages from them today. They ask me, "When are you coming back? When are you coming back? We miss you. We love you. We're proud of you." I was there twice. I wrestled the death match, and then I went back 6 months later, and I wrestled in a 4-way with Mr. Iguana, who is now going to be a WWE superstar. God bless him. Shout out to my friend Mr. Iguana. Happy that he's finding all the success he's doing. As soon as I saw his stupid mug on Twitter, on the WWE page, I was like, "Oh man, he's gonna be famous now." but like they still message me to this day. But that was my first foray into death matches. I never watched death matches. I never studied death matches. My first death match I ever watched was 3 months prior to my first death match. It was Alex Colon versus Junior Kasai. But that's where I understood, oh, death matches isn't just throwing shit at each other. It's pro wrestling with this craziness added to it. And it wasn't something I sought out to do. But I was also at a point where I was in the Indiana Midwest team. They didn't book me a whole lot. They didn't believe that I was a hard-hitting technical wrestling guy, which even though I was, still am, I could probably break most of their arms if you put me in a fight with them. But they just said, "Oh, well, you're 175 pounds. We don't believe you. You're just a pretty boy." And so I said, "Fine, I'm going to try." I did that first death match, and I liked it. I really liked it. And I said, "I'm going to do more." And then people, again, would spin it and say, "Oh, now you're just doing it just to get people to like you and to get over." And I'm like, "No, you won't give me an opportunity. I'm taking the opportunities that I'm given. I like what I'm doing. And I'm doing something that none of you all have the balls to do." Because most people who would say that I'm not this or that are too chicken shit to do a death match, especially the level that I feel it even to this day.
It's not the same do a hardcore match than do death match, and people usually don't know how to tell the difference. Yes, you also do like more, let's say, traditional pro wrestling. You have done a lot of that.
Strong style matches, I guess you could say. But everyone says.
Yes, and we've seen you compete in different places all over America. but especially by the end of 2021, you started competing in GCW, and then in 2022 in Prestige, which arguably are some of the most renowned uh, American indie promotions. So, how was your experience over there? And is there any match or moment that you would like to highlight from that stage of your career?
GCW is very like I've had some fun matches, but the memories are kind of wishy-washy for me at best. I could honestly think that I could, if we took out that portion of my career, like I still would have been doing what I'm doing today. You know, like I had fun matches. The match I had at NGI, people still consider one of the best death matches that that company ever had. I'm very happy to have done that. I've had some really fun death matches with people. There was the scramble match where people would not stop chanting "one me," and everyone was just stunned. Like in the match, I remember Nick Wayne just stopped and looked at me and pointed at me, and everyone just kept chanting "AKIRA, AKIRA," and it was a cute little memory. It was a fun match. It's just little things like that. Some matches I would rather forget for reasons of the match just being not what I wanted or other things. But the ones at Prestige, I'm very happy that the matches I've had at Prestige are honestly some of the most important of my career. My introduction to Prestige when I came out for the full way that I was involved in, which was the prelude to the death match I had the next day. I'd never been to Portland before. I came out and I was the guy. Everyone was chanting for me again. Something that follows me wherever I go. I don't know what it is. It's always something very cool though. And then I had the death match the next day with Drexel, and people still say it's probably one of the best death matches on the West Coast and the United States. And people said you're Portland's adopted son from that point. And again, that's a crazy thing to hear people say. Prestige gave me the matches. I did it back at Danger Aaron, for God's sake, Jackass. That's cool. They let me wrestle with Minoru Suzuki, one of my heroes. Very cool. And now, because of that match and the sequel matches, Suzuki-san and I are friends. Crazy thing to say to myself right now. Like, you tell me that from when I first started wrestling. Hey, you're gonna wrestle him 4 times in 1 year, and you're gonna be friends. I'm gonna be like, you're lying to me. You're full of shit. And then the match with Speedball. People can say whatever they want. Some people said that Mike carried that match. That was a match that Mike and I put together, and Mike had nothing but praise to say for me afterwards. And we put all our hearts and soul into that, and we stole the show at that Prestige show. And then because of that one match, we had our second match at Bloodsport, and it was a whole new beast. But people were just amped and excited because they knew that Mike and I bring something out of each other that we're gonna make you believe in wrestling. Like, there is gonna be no moment where you think, oh, why would you do that? That moment where you're taken out of the magic. When you see Mike and I wrestle, you're locked in. It's 2 guys who want to kick the shit out of each other. But yeah, those 2 companies alone gave me those kinds of matches. I'm very happy for that. My memories with Prestige are some of the happiest I've ever had for us.
Yeah, you mentioned some matches that I personally enjoy a lot, like the one you had with Drexel and your match with Speedball. I believe that you both have very good chemistry. That helps a lot to put together matches. In 2023, I believe, well, actually, this is just my opinion. Maybe you differ on that. But I think that your career really takes off in that year because you started competing regularly in MLW, and that
Yes.
promotion also gave you a platform. You won championships over there. So what does that promotion means to you, and what moments would you like to highlight from that stage of your career?
It's very weird because I remember when I woke up, I just told someone, I want to get signed. I obviously we all want to get signed, but more and more and more and more. But I said, I have a feeling it's going to happen. They were like, really? I said, yeah, I think so. And 2 months later, MLW said, hey, we'd like to shoot forward and like sign. And I said, oh shit, there it is. I didn't know what to expect because, again, it was a TV setting. For some reason, I was nervous. I don't know why I was nervous, but maybe it's just because I came from such an independent background. I was such an outlaw kind of guy. I was the deathmatch guy. I was the golden boy of deathmatches. I still am, but like it's on a little stage at this point. It was very weird for me to come to MLW and be like, okay, this is the first foray into a different field of professionals. Independent is one thing. This is a whole, it's a whole different game. But I went there, and it was my first time as an ECW came out, and I was a bad guy. That's what they wanted at the time. And in my head, I was just like, I don't know how long this is going to last, because whenever I've been people tried to make me a bad guy, it does not work or it does not last. It never clicked, and people want to cheer for me. I don't know what it is. I can do the most horrible things on a show to someone, and then the next show the crowd turns back in my favor, and I go, "Damn, dude, I don't know what you want from me." But especially MLW came as a bad guy to me. RSP, I learned so much from RSP and Raven. One of them was selling math technology, camera. I do it all now, even in Big Japan. And it was very cathartic to be in the ECW arena. Going to, I would like to work there. It's a herald arena, right? You're doing it every day. It's basically your home once a month. And the crowd, the crowd hated me originally just because, okay, you're a bad guy. But then 2-3 months later, I'd be doing any kind of thing, and I'd get a AKIRA chance. I'd come out, and there'd still be a AKIRA chance. Big one was, especially when I wrestled Rocky Romero, I lost the title. The crowd immediately switched 100% in my favor. They had been waiting and waiting and waiting, just like some reason just so we can just cheer this guy, because that's all we want to do. And the company even noticed, like, hey, I got this spot. Hey, today, just be you. I'm like, oh, they're like, it's babyface time. I said, okay, fine, no problem. And as soon as I turn on that babyface thing, I mean, you can watch that match. The crowd immediately 100% behind me. And I was like, oh, this is so much more of my fieldhouse. I like getting sympathy. I like making people care. And then that comes off the race. They gave me a ton of matches. Rocky was a very fun match. Intense. Hearing Rocky, that was very good. Super good. The wrestling, Suzuki San. Yeah. I was given places to do promos and work with people, learn how to help elevate. AKIRA won. We had a duo of matches, one in the Octagon and one the Taipei match. In both those matches, I could just feel Juan understand something, and he rose up to a level each match. There's, the internet, everyone can say whatever they want about the Taipei match, because we didn't just punch each other all the time. He had glass striplets. And I was like, well, guess what? He's a mixed martial artist. I'm a mixed martial artist. We're not going to punch each other all the time. Also, the thing about the Taipei is, you punch each other, the glass falls off. It's limited ammunition. You don't have a bunch of glass for everything. But people in that, you watch that match, the crowd of the worst. They were screaming, they were freaking out. I got to learn how to elevate people alongside myself. And I never lost my luster, no matter how many times I've lost it. People love me, they cared about me. And I learned how to bring people up with me. Now Juan's doing stuff with Mystico. He's still my enemy, screw him, all that yah. I learned how to elevate a company with just the things that I do. So whether it was my promo work, my character work, all these things. A lot of people were affiliating MLW with me. People were saying I was one of the highlights of the show every single time I'd go on. And it happens on the independents, I'm not saying like Prestige or GCW, but like ICW, No Holds Barred, Circle 6, 7, BJW, all these other places I go to work. I work there, and I was trained to them. Not saying it's just me, but it's part of what I do. I get people to care. Like the time with MLW, it's I'm doing that, I'm doing that. I don't know what the future holds right now, but they gave me a platform to learn, understand what I need to do, and what I need to do the next level. If it's done, it's done. If it's not, it's not. Future's wide open.
It was something that made you try a lot of different things and also wrestle some worldwide opponents, maybe not so accessible from other smaller indie promotions. And you mentioned something important, that is CMLL talent in this case. MLW is partners with Consejo in Mexico, one of the biggest promotion in Latin America. And you had the opportunity to represent MLW in a short tour in Mexico and compete in the Grand Prix, the men's Grand Prix in August of last year. It's one of the biggest shows of the year, and you represented the international team. Actually, you got to compete in two different Torneo Cibernetico style tournaments in that week.
Yes.
So, how was your experience in Mexico, and especially how was your experience in this kind of match? Torneo Cibernetico.
God, okay. Well, first off, I knew what the Tornado Cybernetica was, but I had never been in one. So the first time was very confusing for me because it was so many moving parts. And then the second one was much more understood. I understood my spot. Obviously, I wasn't in there long, but I got to be in there with Ultimo Guerrero, and I got to trade hands with the dude that everyone knows is a legend. And he had nothing, he was very happy with what we did. I got to shine with a guy like that. I got to get toe to toe with him. I have some of the pictures saved where he's doing his yell. I'm like kind of doing the come on kind of thing that I do. And I would go, that's such a wild thing. A guy from Indiana is standing in Mexico with Ultimo Guerrero. And I got to go back and forth with a guy like that. I enjoyed my time in Mexico. It's a very weird thing because I understand how Mexican fans look. They're very, very, very loyal to Mexico and Mexico in and of itself. So if you're foreign, you have to really win people over. Obviously, like Flip's there, and Flip lives in Mexico, but if he's affiliated with any kind of international talent, they're going to do the hell out of him. And it was very, very exciting. There would be some places that we would go and be 50% boos and 50% cheers. Kids can't help but cheer for me. Women like to cheer for me, and there's some dudes that would cheer for me. But there's always that 50%. And there was just some where they just hated it. I think Puebla, they hated me, and I was like, all right, whatever. And even though it was against Difunto, and Difunto was a Rudo, right? But I had a lot of fun. Very fun memories. I got to meet a lot of people I never thought I'd get to meet. Met Claudio, hung out with Kyle Fletcher, and all these guys, and interacted with them. It was a good time. I enjoyed myself, and I got to stand in Arena Mexico and just look around. It's a very surreal experience because it's such a big arena. It's so big. Corcoran Hall is like a special place in my heart, but it doesn't have that huge, austere, ethereal environment that Arena Mexico has, especially when it's built up. Like when I came down the steps for the first time and made my introduction, it was just filled with people. And it's just a crazy thing. You kind of go, whoa, man. There's so you don't see that in the independents. You don't see a place like that with fans like that. And I will say that's the one thing I love. I think Mexican fans and Japanese fans are equal to is their passion and their loyalty. Where the Japanese fans aren't as, oh, you're Japanese, so we like you. Some companies, yes, but for me, when I'm in Japan, they basically act like I'm from here. But the passion of the Mexican fans was unbridled and raw. The cool part was after the shows, going out to the bus, and all the fans would forward you, and they were so excited just to see you. And I would get in trouble because I would take so much time to go to each and every fan and sign whatever, take pictures. Because I love doing stuff like that. My favorite though was when we'd go out after the shows and we're trying to get to the bus, and Mexico would walk by, and Mexico would just beeline to the bus, and you could hear the fans say, fuck Mystico. Oh, he's too good for us. And I love Mystico, but it was just so funny because it's almost because Mystico there is like Hulk Hogan, which again, that was the coolest thing was being there for when Mystico made his entrance, and I did that twice, and it's electric. It's almost like The Rock coming in, for WWE. Everyone shuts up, their eyes focus, and they're like, "This is the man. This is the guy." And I'm happy I can call that guy my friend.
When people talk about Mystico, I usually refer to him as the John Cena of CMLL or Mexico or Latin America.
Yeah.
But now John Cena is, doing this kind of stuff that is, well, not of my taste. So I don't know what else can I say about Mystico. But yeah, he's very respected. Like usually when there's a show in CMLL features Mystico, even if it's a small show, the tickets will sell out. But if it's not
Yeah.
Mystico in the card, it's like 70-80%. So he's the draw, the biggest draw in Mexico.
He's a star. He is the
Yes.
guy. People should aspire to be like that. It's almost like it's not the same, but the energy. When you watch when Nakamura was with New Japan, when he was doing King of Strong style, when Nakamura makes his entrance, it's almost the same as when Mystico makes his entrance. It's almost like you just shut up, you want to listen to the music, and you want to see this dude just make his entrance and be the king that he is.
Finally, to end this part and now to connect with your presence in Japan, you had the chance to perform at Arena Mexico, which is one of the 4 most iconic venues for pro wrestling, alongside the Tokyo Dome in Japan, Wembley Stadium in England, and the Madison Square Garden in the US. So you're already performing one. You still have opportunity to perform in one of the others. So fingers crossed for that. Especially in Japan, which is your presence, like I mentioned before. In the same year that you started in MLW, you had your first tour with BJW, Big Japan. So, how was your experience on this first tour? Which, if I'm not wrong, was your first time also in Japan?
Yes. So for a while, since 2020, when I made my first big splash in the independent scene, when I jumped off the rope in Atlantic City, I would have Japanese fans. They didn't care that my name was AKIRA and that I'm an American. They understood that I have heritage. I listen, no matter what people say, I do look hard. I have the eyes. I have all that nonsense. But I would always get asked, "Oh, when are you coming to Japan? When are you coming to Japan?" I would have to translate some of it, but I'd be like, whatever it happens, I can't force it to happen. But my debut was in Shikiba First Ring against the guy in Japanese Deathmatch, Masashi Takeda. I still think if Takeda-san got put on TV anywhere, he would steal people's hearts because he's such a visceral looking character. He's got all the cool scars, like they're visceral and almost kind of grotesque, but he looks so cool and he's a handsome dude. And he's got the mouthpiece with the teeth on. He looks just like he's made for television. You put him on anywhere in America, people would be amazed by him. But I got to wrestle him for my debut match in Big Japan Pro Wrestling, and I didn't know what to expect. I expected, some people might know me. I expect I'm going to have to work really hard because that's generally what happens when a foreigner comes to Japan. It's almost like coming to Mexico. It's you got to really put in the work to care about you. But once you have them, you've got them forever. But when I made my entrance, it is not what I expected, because I made my entrance and so I was still coming out to Fight to Survive and Bloodsport, but everyone was clapping. I came out and I was, AKIRA. It was just like prestige. It was just like all these places in the United States. Even when I go to Australia or the UK, like I get this chance and get in there. So when I came out, I was like, okay, I was excited. You're hearing all these people chant for you in the country that you've always wanted to work in, be a regular in. It was okay. I'm in, but now I have to seal the deal. So I had to go in there and I had to have a match of the year. And Canada with Takeda-san, we killed each other. I still got some remnant scars right here on my hairline, just like above my ear. It looks like, and people ask me still, they're like, what should I expect when I go to Japan? And I have to tell you, well, your experience is not going to be my experience. My experience is a freak, once in a lifetime thing that people wish to have. But I can still invite it. That first tour was so special because no matter where I went, I just want people to look like that. Just by being me, by being, at least at that point in my life, I was very quirky. I still do some silly stuff in matches, but I'm much more animalistic and much more aggressive. Then I was just so child. I was like a little J-pop boy. I was so happy to be there. I'd wave at people during a match. That first tour was great. I came back, people were stunned by the look, and then I went back immediately for New Year's. I had, God, like 10 matches in 11 days, and I beat the OG Deathmatch Ace. Not the OG Deathmatch Ace, but the Deathmatch Ace at the time, Yuji Ito. No, again, Ito-san at that point never lost, ever. And I beat him and shocked everyone again. First here, but then I came back to the King of the Deathmatch, and that's what started this entire run.
Yeah, I believe that you connected very well with the company, with the crowds over there. There's something special about foreigners when they go to these countries that are known because of the pro wrestling is so ingrained in the culture, like Japan, that when the company says, okay, we're bringing this pro wrestler, he's not used to compete over here. The fans are so
Eager,
so
inside.
yeah, so eager to look about those wrestlers. So they try to learn as much as them, and also try to make them feel comfortable in this new environment. Because, like in your
Yes.
case, many go for the first time. It's their first time over there, first tour. So that's something very cool. And then you returned to Japan for this big stay in that you've been almost 6 months. It started in December with the King of Deathmatch tournament, which is a 1 day tournament. Very hard. It's it's not easy to produce one match of these characteristics, and also in a tournament where that everyone has to develop their own ideas and try to do something creative and different from the others. So every match is like unique. How was your experience competing in this tournament? And like you mentioned before, you won the tournament, and that was
Yeah.
like your your biggest moment so far in Japan by that time.
Oh God, and Gorgon. Oh, what a very, very, very hard tournament. So everyone in the States knows I'm a tournament guy. Like I've gone the distance in like 6 tournaments, and especially in terms of the young guys of the deathmatch scene. I think I have the most of the young crop of guys going right now. Even though I didn't know what to think when I got there, I was really expecting to come in, have one round, do a good show, get the hell out, And I get there and I get told, "Hey, you're winning, right?" I'm like, "What? I'm what?" And they're like, "Yeah, man." And I was like, "Gosh." They're like, "What? You should be excited." And I'm like, "I'm excited," but I'm like, "It's New Year's Eve. This show was a sellout show, and it's in Gorgon Hall." I'm like, they're basically putting a loaded gun to my head and saying, "Are you excited?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Don't fuck up. But each match is very different, and it was testing in its own way. So, first match with Kamatani-san, which is barbed wire bullets, and everyone else in the first round had light tubes. So it was like, "Hey, here's barbed wire boards. Can you get people to care about this match?" And we did. We just wrestled a really good match, and he hit the first brain buster. He goes for the second, as he does, and I stopped it, Western Death Bomb, and crowd shrieked with that 1, 2, 3, and I knew. I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm locked in, I'm set." Did that. The next one, wrestled someone I've known, but I never got to wrestle the first time. King of Freedom's champion. He wrestled in Monterey for NGX, for Zona, so for those companies. Violenta Jack is a great wrestler. We went out there and we put in a different kind of match. It wasn't just light tubes. And then I had to go the distance with Wakamatsu for the finals. My God, that match took a piece of my life. I think Wakamatsu and I, every time we've gotten in the ring since then, we bring out something in each other. We beat the piss out of each other, and we love it. That's the thing too. Him and I were just messaging because he just went over to the United States for tournament survival for GCW, and people were telling him apparently that our finals match was one of the best matches they've ever seen, and which again, that's very flattering. But man, afterwards, him and I were so tired. We checked on each other the next day, and we were just like, because we had to wrestle again the next day for a call. And the thing about the tournament, deathmatch tournament, it's like a regular tournament. It's hard because you're doing a lot. You're getting kicked a lot, right? Getting punched a lot. But with the deathmatch tournament, and you're doing all that with the added bonus of cutting yourself up, so your body is pumping adrenaline through your system. You're pumping, pumping, pumping. And my body, I've been stabbed like I have this eye scar. I've got this cut on my side, one on my chest. I've had some gnarly cuts where I didn't feel anything until like 5 or 6 hours later, just because my adrenaline power was so insane. And I got this one, I didn't even know it was there until I got to go back and wash my face, and there was just a hole in my face, and everyone said hospital now, and I was like, what? They're like hospital now. I'm like, why? That's fine, just glue it. They're like, buddy, that's not a glue job. So like that's the thing I'm great with tournaments is because I can go through a whole bunch of punishment, and I generally don't feel it until hours after the tournament. And that after that tournament crash was so hard, and then you have to get up and do the exact same thing the next day. I was like, oh my god, okay. But man, I got to do all that, and I won in Cork and home. I was told by a guy named Rotten, if people are IBA fans, they know all about a guy who was Rotten. I was told I'd never be a king of the death match, in the United States. So it was an extra bonus that I was in a king of the death match in the United States, in Japan, Oregon Hall, very first one, probably my last one. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I won the damn thing. I was the first king of the death match, foreign king of the death match since Cactus Jack in 1994. My brain is fried. That's a very long time. That's a very heralded thing to have in my pocket. And it started off my year. Because no one can touch me now. I walked into an island show, and I'd never been to this island. I didn't even know it existed until I was like, hey, we have a show date on this island. You gotta go 16 hours there. And I'm like, oh shit, okay. And I make my entrance, and I get in the ring, and all these people that I've never met before a day in my life were just chanting, AKIRA, AKIRA. I was like, wow. But yeah, it was a very cathartic and powerful feeling. I've had many opportunities denied from me, told I wasn't good enough for whatever reason. It apparently doesn't matter if you get over fans. It's only what the company wants. I mean, we see it in WWEs. We see it in all these companies everywhere. Oh yeah, people love you, but it doesn't mean I want to use you properly. But I did it in Japan. People beg for spots in Japan, and I did it on my own way. So I didn't have to wait for an American company to bring me over here. I did it my own way, and I became the guy. Can't do that. Not many people. It's a hard thing.
Well, the first thing I want to say is Happy New Year. What a way to celebrate. Yeah. Yes, you won one of the most important tournaments in Korakuen Hall. And like you mentioned, not many people have born from America have won that kind of tournaments. The last one was over 30 years ago. Cactus Jack, aka Mick Foley. And then you also made history more recently in March when you won the Deathmatch Heavyweight Championship. You are almost, if I'm not wrong, you're going to your third month as a champion, and you have defended the belt 3 times now. So, what did it mean to you to win the championship? And if you have any favorite defense to date?
So all of my defenses I enjoy for different reasons. But winning that belt. So again, like in the United States, I was the guy in death matches. Like I was the tournament guy, but no one would ever pull the trigger and put a belt on it. I don't know what it was. I don't know what the issue was. It wasn't like my work was subpar because I was winning all the tournaments. I've won tournaments that are probably never going to run again. Masters of Pain, things like that. So it was again just like I never won. I was never in the King of the Death match in the United States. Back to my first and probably my last death match belt, to be honest, because I wanted to do things beyond death matches. After this run, was the original death match title. Again, what better way is there to start and end a story than something like that? I won it in Cork and Hall. People shrieked when I won. I still have the video of when I jumped off the cage, hit the senton bomb, 1, 2, 3. People screamed. It was such a beautiful thing because I really did sacrifice a lot at that point. I lost a lot in this year alone to get to this point. In terms of a home, in terms of family, in terms of many things. And the fact that I did that 1, 2, 3, I stunned the world as I became the focal point of deathmatch wrestling, not just in the United States, all around the world. It's a very short list of people, especially guys who won that title. Then I went on to immediately did 3 defenses, almost back to back to back to back. That's very taxing because when you win the original deathmatch title, you have to put the work in. You have to kill yourself for these matches. It's not just in and out kind of deal like some of these belts are. It's to basically commit atrocities against humanity against one another. And again, the first I got to do. I'll say this, at this moment, yeah, I got to wrestle like Kikuta. I got to wrestle Asami Kodaka, which is a match that people in the States have been waiting for forever. Samurai versus Samurai, right? I was very happy to do these things. But the one that stands out to me, especially the most right now, is the one with Dale in the Budokan, because it was the first time ever Gaijin versus Gaijin. Yokohama Budokan. No light tubes, no glass. It was old school stipulation, barbed wire, staple gun, razor cross. We went out there and we put on a match that made the company. There's even a thing because someone was listening to President Tosaka go over the event. And he said that match was so good that it is making us relook at how we do death matches. So we're not light tube heavy. Because again, light tubes are done. There's no more production of them. We went out there and we showed them, hey, you can have great matches without light tubes. You don't need light tubes. In fact, I think light tubes are a crutch in terms of all of pro wrestling. That some people can't get over in whatever companies and they'll go and do a death match and just throw light tubes. That sucks. We went out there and showed, hey, it's deathmatch wrestling, barbed wire matters, razors matter. Obviously, razors matter because I have scars on the top of my head now from it. I've got scars on my back from landing on the razor cross. We went out there and we showed them, hey, deathmatch wrestling is not just glass. It's a whole bunch of different stuff. It's not about the glass. It's not about the weapons. It's about the people with the weapons. You didn't watch no barbed wire just because it was another barbed wire. You watched it because Sam was in it. You watched it because Terry Funk was in it. And I've changed my style a lot. I've taken aspects of like Naomichi Marufuji, Keiji Muto, all these different things in my style now. But the centerpiece of it all is actually Terry Funk. All of my selling, all of how I interact with the crowd, all those little things are just Terry Funk. That's what we need. We need people to fear these weapons and fear these things that we do. We showed in that Budokan match, especially with the after photos, all the people were horrified at the level of gore that was on our faces. But that's what Terry Funk did so well. He made you believe it. You didn't think, oh, this is fake or barbed wire is not that bad. You watched a Terry Funk or a Sabu match, you were like, oh my god, barbed wire sucks. And hey, barbed wire sucks. When I hit that final Shiranui, I got this one right here. You literally watch me as I land the barbed wire go. And see me do this real quick before going to cover it. Yeah, it's a very surreal thing because I'm going to be taking this belt to the States, and I'm going to be the first American to bring this belt back to the States. But I know Drew Parker went over and defended it at GCW, but it's not the same. I'm the hometown boy coming back to the home country with this thing in a month,
I think that right now there's more interest around that matches. It's getting more popular. I don't know if you perceive it that way. I don't know if it has to do with all this promotion that El Desperado in New Japan has been doing, trying to do more stuff around that style of wrestling. But yeah, I find it really cool.
It's a mixture. It's a mixture of, I know AAA has done deathmatch stuff. I watched Sam Adonis get thrown through glass by Pagano, which made me laugh. But stuff that Desperado's doing does help. New Japan had been dabbling with hardcore and deathmatch here and there. That they've had Kasai, when it was Moxley and Homicide versus Stephanie Garano and Kasai. Like that was a very cool moment to see Kasai get his due on that level. Because he's the GOAT in terms of like things he's done to himself for the love of the game. The fact that he can go anywhere and just get it's similar but it's different where I get AKIRA, he gets Kasai, same kind of thing. I would also say AEW help with that exponentially, just because they're willing to go to do that. You know, they're willing to show the blood and guts of pro wrestling, whether it's in a regular match with someone bleeding or, you know, when they do, like, I mean, recently they had those staple guns and stuff like that on TV, you know, on what was the Anarchy in the Arena. So the world is much more aware about deathmatch wrestling, but I would also say that it's also less caring because there's so much of it, and a lot of it's not very good. So when you have it on a higher platform and they do it well, it's a whole different thing. And, or when you have, you know, the Big Japan wrestling stuff that I'm doing, or when you have some occasional matches on like GCW or Rise that are really great death matches, it stands out because so many people are bad at doing it now. When people do it really good, it looks even better. But yeah, I think there's a more interest in it, but it's also part of the reason, like the thing with Y-Tubes, why I put so much heart and effort into the Oklahoma Budokan match. It's just because I'm so done with Y-Tubes. I'm so over it. It's how many people have we seen who are just terrible wrestlers just throwing Y-Tubes and getting a great reaction that they don't deserve just because they do Y-Tubes into something stupid. The art of deathmatch is beyond just glass, and that's been my mission statement, especially the past since I won the belt, was I wanted to do different things. You know, I did stuff with Kikuta with concrete, and Asami was there was light tubes, but the Giga ladder was the big part, right? And then Dale and I was basically like one of my masterpieces with Dale in terms of showing deathmatch wrestling is not just this. And you should watch a deathmatch and be terrified. You should be like, yeah, you want to chant, oh, this is awesome, that kind of stuff. But people watch that deathmatch and they were disgusted. Like, you should watch a deathmatch and be terrified for the performance. And you have to deliver it on that level. Like, I still think that the Moxley Omega match, the exploding barbed wire, it was a great match. The only thing that sucked was the finish, because we all know what happened with that. But if that had gone off, it'd been perfect, because they did a whole bunch of great wrestling into all the barbed wire, and the stuff did explode. It didn't look bad at all. That's also why I'm pushing now to do more matches outside of death matches, just because I think, especially someone holding the original deathmatch title, that's the kind of guy that should be going out and doing regular matches, strong style matches, and showing that deathmatch guys can hang with guys like Steve and Mike Bates. Because the stigma that deathmatch wrestlers can't wrestle is tired and it's old. There's a ton of people in deathmatches who can't wrestle because they just throw shit. But also there's a bunch of people who wrestle normally who can't wrestle. So yeah, my brain, my philosophy, piece of statement in terms of pro wrestling has changed dramatically. I want to embody just all the things about pro wrestling that I like. So whether it is a little bit of high fly, hard hitting, submission wrestling, but all these things are what make pro wrestling great. And unlike any sport or theatric that you do.
Would you say that that's the way? Would you describe the AKIRA way? What that it means?
Yeah, it's the AKIRA way is, it's honestly just pro wrestling. You know, some people are high flyers, they want to stick to the one thing. And I want to embody the viscerality and the reality of what pro wrestling should be. I'm not the most, I'm athletic, but I'm not the most, flippy floppy. I can do all the crazy stuff under the sun. I'm not Commander. I'm not a lot of these guys where you watch them and you go, I can't do that. It's insane. I'm a real person from a small town in Indiana who can wrestle, fight, can bleed, and can make people care. I'll do what I have to do to win at the end. I'll do whatever I have to do to make sure that the bills are paid. And whether it is cutting myself up, whether it's, fighting from underneath, fighting someone who is stronger, faster, smarter than me, I'll do it. Because that's what real people have to compete with people that are gifted in ways. And you have to find a way to succeed despite that. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So many people now are like, I look, I know I look like a star. I look now, I've got, the pants, I've got the robe. But a lot of people lose that sense of familiarity, that sense of realism. I still have that when I come out. I look like, people, they say here, samurai king. They say I look like a king. But then they see me after a show, and they'll see me at the merchandise table. It's the nicest, most humble person. That's not me saying it. That's I don't want to lose the connection that I make with fans, and I feel like not a lot of people make an actual connection with fans. They do a whole bunch of cool stuff, but the whole point of pro wrestling is to connect and make people really worry and care. That's why Terry Funk was so great. And Terry Funk, even when he was, in his 50s, he was still doing Muda. When he was working for Noah, he still made people care, and that's what is missing now. So a lot of people don't care. They want to read into the storylines and stuff, but they don't really care about the performers. And the thing I can say about me is people care, and we need more caring in today's world, because God knows the world is kind of a weightless, emotionless, empathy lacking pit. And if I can make people care about myself, I can try to make people care about myself.
Now, going in a little bit into maybe what can be considered as fantasy booking, is there anyone from around the world that you haven't faced yet that you would like to have a match with?
Moxley is probably number one on the list. I would like to say Kasai. I want to wrestle Suzuki and Broken Hall. There's people and places I want to fight, but Moxley is probably high up on the list. There's a lot of people in AEW I'd like to throw hands with, just because I think they're mad pussy, and they ain't real, and they can't. If I could put these people through a hell that they don't even understand. Eddie Kingston's another one too, and that's not because I don't disrespect Eddie Kingston. I highly respect Eddie Kingston. But I know for a fact that if I get in there with Moxley or Eddie Kingston, it's gonna be a fight. It's gonna be a war. We're gonna care. So those are the two big ones. I think Gabe Kidd would be an interesting one too, especially now that I've sized up a bit. I'm about 200 pounds. I know he's a bit bigger than me, but I've been throwing around people bigger than him well before I even knew he was a thing. So Gabe Kidd would be a fun one. There's a list, but Moxley is kind of very high on the list. Eddie Kingston.
And now, going a little bit outside of wrestling, can you tell us about your hobbies?
So, I do the Twitch streaming and stuff like that. I'm a huge card geek. So my sponsor, Hitman Sports Breaks, they do a whole bunch of sports cards, trading cards. So I'm all about trading card stuff. I'm a huge Magic the Gathering guy. I'm getting back into Pokemon. I'm learning all these different things because it's part of how I get paid, but it's also because I really like doing it. I like video games. Everyone likes. So I'm very much more like a turn-based RPG kind of guy. I like that strategy. I play guitar. When I get back in the States, I'll be working heavily on my technique so that I'm going to start working on a solo album, maybe working on some actual musical projects. I'm a writer. I'm going to be writing. I'm actually also planning out a trilogy of fantasy books. I want to get started when I get back in the States and I have my computer, poetry, philosophy, all the nerdiest crap in the world, that a lot of people don't care about. But I find a lot of purpose and reason in philosophy, especially. Past couple months have been very hard mentally and emotionally for me. Reading a lot of philosophy, a lot of Marcus Aurelius, the artist Stoicism. I'm even reading, it seems like lame samurai books, how they handle different stresses and things. I really like expanding my brain. I love listening. Obviously, we all love listening to music. Who doesn't love listening to music? I've been branching out and exploring different kinds of music as well, whether it's jazz, disco, rap was an interesting one that I discovered recently that I really like. And then obviously hang out with my dog. I really miss my dog right now. He's back with my family in the States, and I can't wait to be back. And I've told myself I'm never going to be this long gone again. I can't. So that's 6 months of his life. I'm never going to get back, and I want to be around for the rest of it.
Was this your first time, going abroad for that long period of time?
Yes, it is my first time being abroad, living abroad ever, and especially for such a long period of time. And it was really a test of my mental as well as especially when it was like, because we just now got Wi-Fi at Dojo, right? And that's where I was saying, well, if I ever come to Japan to live, I'm gonna have my own apartment. So I'm doing this every year. But it was a lot of me, myself, and I had a lot of introspection, a lot of things about myself that I would just sit there and just analyze. It's just you, you know. You think about your wrestling, you think about you think about your life, your goals, your aspirations. I put myself through a mental ringer those first 3 months just because it's all I had. You know, I had no one to talk to. No one in the States was talking to me. You know, they people say, "Oh, you can reach out," but I really can't. You know, I'm not going to throw my issues on other people. And I was in a really bad headspace for a while, but I started reading and listening and doing a lot of good things, listening to like stoicism, self-help. I really broke down a lot of things I didn't like about myself. I didn't like about my wrestling. So I didn't like where I was at in my life. And things I still don't like about where I'm at. You know, it's because you can't change things. It's just not how it works. But the person I am now, you know, I've spoken to some people because they became aware of my mental was very low. They even said that the person I am now feels very, very different than who I was even 6 months ago. In reality, that's all you can want is to come out a changed person through hardships. But it was also something where I told myself, oh, I'm never going to be this long gone from my family or my dog, because I think I would have been a lot better if if Coda was here, because I'd still have, you know, my son, my best friend. You know. But it's also, I guess it's a good thing that I didn't have him here, because if I did have him here, I wouldn't have gone through the self-evaluation that I've done with myself, you know, in terms of my lifestyle, who I am, all of that. So it is what it is. You know, I had to go through this to become the person I am now, and I just know now what I want in life. That's also why I'm thinking about pursuing things beyond deathmatch wrestling. Just because if I do deathmatch wrestling, you know, for a bigger platform one day, you know, called AEW or Ring of Honor, wherever, I want to do it and get paid. You know, I really want to. We all want to have a happy ending, and there's not many deathmatch wrestlers who have someone really phrased it to me like that, and I thought about it. And I said, I'm a great pro wrestler. I want to do more things. I want to be able to walk and retire one day and be happy. Not many people get to. You know, I'm 31 years old, turning 32 in October. I don't have much of a savings, you know, going on for me. It's a lot of living day by day because the world's hard, the economy's hard, and wrestling's my only job right now. But I want that. I want to be able to retire one day with different things that I've done, whether it's my book, you know, books, my music. If I could open up like a clothing store or a restaurant, I want to be able to retire and say, dude, I had a great career. I have a life savings now from pro wrestling. And I can retire and walk off to the sunset with a family. That's all anyone should do. You know? Because at the end of the day, if you don't have a family and you don't have people that love you and care for you, and all you have is these little successes that mean nothing at the end of the day because you're by yourself, what's the point? Like I've done all the stuff that interesting I found to do, and now it's holding onto this title and doing what I can with it while I can with it, and riding off into the sunset and doing whatever's next.
It's very hard to live abroad in a country where you don't speak the language. First, that, then when you don't have, you know, family, friends, people close to you, people that you love, that you feel familiar with, it's hard. And I'm glad to know that you got to, you know, introspect a lot, do other stuff, get to know you better, and maybe get kind of over this hard moment of your life. Now I understand that you're going back to the States. The summer is getting closer, both in America and the States. And I want to know if you have goals for the second half of the year.
As far as I know, I'm still gonna be champion going to the States. So when I do go to the States and I can have defenses in the States, I'm going to do what I want, and it's non-glass death matches. If you get in there with the death match champion of the world, you're going to wrestle a death match. You're not going to get in there and just get the cheap hoopla of, oh, I got to apply twos with the BJW belt. It's like, no. You're going to go in there and you're going to work. And if you haven't done it yet, you're going to learn. I'm going to take you But also, I want to go in there. I want to go out. I want to do blood sport again. I want to do a lot more strong matches, and again, represent deathmatch wrestling as the champion of it. I am the champion, the original champion. And I don't know what's next in terms of me on TV. I don't know where I'm going to go, but I would like, again, going off of what I've said, and walking off in the sunset one day, I would like to step into bigger avenues. I want to get paid. I want to sign a bigger contract and be able to live comfortably for the first time in my life and not worry about living paycheck to paycheck, living weekend to weekend. How much money can I make from a show and from merchandise? I want to do that. I there's something in the air. I don't know what it is. I have a feeling that there's eyes on me. I don't know where they are, but I feel like that's going to come. Whether I think it'd be really cool because I know the ECW arena became also like a second home, right? Like Broken Hall's kind of my home for me now. The ECW arena became home for me. It's my tenure there. I know that there's a certain company that's doing a residency there, and they have something called Death Before Dishonor. I think you need some death before that dishonor. Just throwing that out in the wind, but maybe I go back to MLW. Maybe I do all these things. I don't know. I want to get paid, and I want to be able to afford a car and an apartment by myself. And I want to be able to give myself and my dog a life that is worth living. Because I'm tired of being the guy. I'm tired of romanticizing the starving artist shtick. It's old. It's tired. I'm beaten up. The starving artist thing is great until the point where you become truly starving and you're worried about if you're gonna be alive the next year or not. And that's all I can really say about that. I want to come back, do blood sport. I want to do all these bigger shows. I want to sign a bigger contract, and if I can represent BJW on a televised platform, I think that'd be pretty cool. Maybe the first time ever. We've seen the IWGP belt on different televised formats. Now AAA's on WBTV, which is see the BJW belt on a TV format would be pretty cool. And that'd be the first time ever. And I'm all about those first times ever. So
Wishing you all the best in the remaining of the year. Hopefully some of these goals will come true. I think that I actually agree with what you said. I believe that there's some eyes on you. You're the current winner of one of the top tournaments in the gender. You're a top champion in Japan, doing almost a 6-month tour now. Not your first time in Japan, so I believe there are some opportunities coming your way. So fingers crossed for that. Maybe you can even showcase, the BJW belt in television. That would be really cool and a first time ever thing.
yes, yeah, it would be a first time ever. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the time, Akira. It has been a pleasure to have you here. Before closing this interview, do you have any message for your fans watching this?
Thank you guys for giving me a life to live. I'm not working a job that I feel miserable at anymore. I'm just doing what I'm doing because of you, because of love and support all around the world. A lot of people say these things just, because it's a platitude and it's you should say it to be polite. I mean, whenever I have fans come to me and they tell me how much they love me or my work and they thank me for things I've done, I really appreciate it because the work that I give is part of my heart, my soul to you all, because I want people to be affected by the things that I do. That's the beauty of professional wrestling. It touches people on so many different levels, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And all the love, all the support, all the well wishes, I need it more often than you think, because times get really hard, and at the moment you all are the only family that I've got. You're the only people I can really talk to consistently and I hear love from. And I thank you, and I hope everyone else is surviving out in the world right now and keeping your heads up. And I hope that I can do the same for you all too. Thank you.
Ok, amigos, ese fue Akira. Nos vemos la próxima vez. Hasta luego.